We're going to build up our military. We should have never been in Iraq. But once we went into Iraq, we should have never left the way we left. We left like fools. We went in, should have never happened. I didn't want to go from the beginning, and I have proof from the beginning. I didn't want Iraq. I said, you're going to destabilize the entire Middle East, and that's exactly what happened. But then we were there, losing thousands of lives, spending trillions and trillions of dollars. Probably in the Middle East, we're up to $4 trillion. And we're in worse shape now than we were 15 years ago before the whole deal started. Far worse, not even close. Far worse, far worse. So what we're going to do is we're going to start thinking smart. We're going to be smart again. We're going to make great military. And by the way, I said for years, we've got to keep the oil. I said, keep the oil. You leave, you keep the oil. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. I said it for years. Once we were in, I said, when we get out, it's going to be a disaster. But when we get out, we should have left some troops there. And I hate saying that, but we should have left some troops there. And it would have been better, certainly, than it is right now. Can't be any worse. But I always said, keep the oil. But we didn't keep the oil. So who has the oil right now? A lot of the oil is had by ISIS. And we created ISIS. And Hillary Clinton, through her incompetence, directly and indirectly created ISIS. And now she wants to get rid of it. She says, yes, we will fight ISIS. She's the one that created it. With stupidity. With stupid, stupid policy. Policy that's only going to get worse. She is the one that created it. And that's what's happened. And so now we have problems all over the place. We have our cities exploding. We have ISIS looking at us. And by the way, when our enemies all over the world, including our friends all over the world, look at what's happening to our country, where the other night you had 11, think of it, 11 cities potentially in a blow-up stage. Marches all over the United States. And tough marches. Anger. Hatred. Hatred. Started by a maniac that some people asked for a moment of silence for him. For the killer. For the killer. Okay? So, when our enemies look at what's going on with our country, they see our deficits. They see we don't win anymore. We don't win. We don't win. We don't win at anything. I always say when I was young, going to high school and going to college, and before that, we never lost. You know, United States, they said, had never lost a war. Now we never win. We don't win on trade. We don't win with our military. Our military is so depleted. Our military has fighter jets that are in use, flown by great, great American people that are so old, and they can't get parts for the fighter jets. These are people flying these jets now in combat. They can't get parts, so they go to the plane graveyards in the deserts. They go to museums where they have similar planes, and they strip the planes of parts to use for our fighter pilots to fly. This is what we've been reduced to. And I'll tell you something. Hillary Clinton is incompetent, okay? The greatest single thing, in my opinion, that she's ever done is to get out of the email problem. I think it's incredible. She did a great job on that. I think it's her greatest achievement. I think when they look back on Hillary Clinton, they will say the greatest achievement of Hillary Clinton was getting out of this problem with emails. Nobody could have gotten. Houdini couldn't have gotten out. She was so guilty. I have a list. Look, page after page of the lies. Page after page, the lies. All over. Look at this. Page, page. Look, I don't want to read it to you. The press would say, you should spend your entire speech talking about Hillary Clinton. And the emails, I don't want to talk about, you know what? It was all lies, folks. I don't have to go through and bore everybody. It was so horrible. It was so disgusting. It was so outrageous. You look at General Petraeus. Look what happened to him for a tiny fraction of what crooked Hillary did. You look at other people for a tiny fraction. Look at what happened to them. So I just tell you this. We have a candidate on the other side who, if she ever gets elected, it will be 4 more disgusting years of Obama. It will be 4 more years of weakness. It'll be 4 more years of civil unrest. It will be 4 more years of not winning with our military and not winning against ISIS. They don't have a clue how to beat ISIS. They don't have a clue. But it'll be 4 more years of Obama and Obamacare and all of these things that don't work. Except I think actually it will be worse. Today I see Bernie Sanders gave her this very, sort of strange endorsement. I want to tell you, a lot of Bernie Sanders people are so upset about it, they're going to be voting for Trump. I really believe that. They're going to be voting for Trump. They're going to be voting for Trump. Because the one thing that Bernie Sanders and I have in common was trade. Now, he can't do anything about it. He just knew it was bad. I know how to fix it. Because I am in favor of free trade. A lot of people say I'm an isolationist. Okay? Of course, when you're losing $800 billion a year on trade deficits, maybe that's not the worst thing. But we're going to straighten it out. I believe in open borders for trade. I believe in free trade. The problem we have is that virtually every single country that deals with us are far sharper and far better. They have their best negotiators. We have people that are political hacks negotiating for us. We have people that don't know what they're doing. I have the greatest businessmen in the world that have endorsed me, including people like Carl Icahn, great businessman. We have some of the greatest negotiators, maybe the greatest negotiators in the world. We don't use them. We use political hacks. We have people in there that got in for politics. You can look at the biggest companies in the world, and it's small potatoes. It's peanuts compared to some of these massive trade deals. And we have people that should never be negotiating trade deals. Just like we have Secretary of State Kerry negotiating with Iran, and what they did to him and you, because he has no idea what the hell he was doing and what he gave away. Israel is in serious jeopardy. Frankly, we're in serious jeopardy, and we made a power out of Iran. We made a power. Number one, we should have never gone in and negotiated that deal until we got our hostages back. Ever. Ever. We should have never, ever gone in. And what you say is, folks, we have to get them back. And if you don't want to give them back, you leave the meeting. You leave the meeting, and you double up your sanctions. You would have had them back within 24 hours. I guarantee you that. But we didn't do that. We never left any meeting. I kept waiting for the whole delegation. I kept waiting for them to leave, to get up and leave. I used to say, get up and leave. Perfect. Get up. We didn't win anything. The only time that Kerry left was at 73 years old to go into a bicycle race where he fell and broke his leg, right? And I always tell people, I promise you, I will never enter a bicycle race when I'm in the midst of an important nuclear negotiation. I promise. I promise. But when you look at it, number one, we should have gotten them back. And the other thing, we should have never given them back the $150 billion. And I would have said very nicely, my father used to think I was a little bit rough. And he used to go, easy, son. Son, Take it nice and easy. You got to take the lumps out. He had an expression. Good father. We all had great fathers, I hope. I had a good father. But I learned a lot. He said, and he'd go like this with his hand. He said, you got to take the lumps out. Take the lumps. Easy. Nice and easy. Take the lumps out. You're a little too rough. What do you mean, Pop? You're a little too rough. And over the years, I think I've learned that. Made great deals. Built a great company. Great company. Took advantage of every single thing you can because you're working for yourself. You're working for your family. You're working for your employees. You're working for... Took advantage of every law. Some of these are the dumbest laws I've ever seen. Some of these laws are so stupid, but, you know, you take advantage of them. You're like a business person, right? Got to take advantage of them because you're really representing your employees, your company, your family. But my father would say, take the lumps out. So here's what I would have said on the 150. In the old days, when I was young, I'd say, we're not paying you back the $150 billion. You're not getting it. And there'd be a lot of hard feeling, right, in the room. You know, it'd take a while. They'd still come back. Don't worry about it. Because they need us. They need us. And then I would have left, and he'll go with the sanctions. I would have done two things. Number one, hostages before we start uttering the first word. But number two, and how long were those hostages there? That negotiation took forever. And we didn't win a point. We lost everything. They're going to be a nuclear power. They're rich. They're powerful. How about Yemen? They're fighting on the other side of Yemen. We're fighting. They're fighting. I said, why didn't they make the deal to get out of Yemen? And Kerry said, because he didn't want to complicate the negotiations. Give me a break. Now, can you believe we're fighting each other? We're talking about one thing. They don't want to bring something else. It's too complicated. These are amateurs. But my father would say, take the lumps out. So here's what I would have said. Number one, we'd now be negotiating because our prisoners would have been back years ago. Years ago. I would have said, fellas, look, here's a story. Here's the story. We have a problem. Our country's flat broke. We owe $19 trillion, going to be 20 now with the omnibus budget, going to be $21 trillion very soon. I want to give you the money back. I really do. We don't have it, I'm sorry. They would have gone nuts. They would have said, what do you mean you got to give us the money? I said, no, we want to. We don't have it. I want to so badly. We love you. You're such great people, such nice people, so kind. Take a look at what they do to their hostages and their prisoners. You'll find out about tough people. Great negotiators. Persians, great negotiators. I would have said, remember, nice and easy. I would have rather done it my way, but I respected my father. So I would have said, we don't have the money, can't do it. They would have left, we would have left. We would have been back in 2 weeks, okay? We would have saved $150 billion. So those two things. We would have had our hostages back. We would have saved $150 billion. Now they're so rich. They're buying airliners. They're buying everything. They're buying probably nuclear weapons. We just don't know about it, okay? The hell do they have to do nuclear weapons? You know, we're worried about them making nuclear weapons. They'll buy them. They've got the money. They made such fools out of us. Folks, those days are over. They're over. They're over. I call Obama the 5-for-1 president. So we have a traitor named Sergeant Bergdahl. So Sergeant Bergdahl thinks he likes their way of life, obviously. Oh, they have a wonderful way of life. So one day he leaves. We lose 5 and maybe 6, but 5 at least people looking for him. They were killed. They were killed by the enemy. They go out there looking for him. They knew he left. Everybody with him knew he left because he was all whacked out and a believer in them, not us. So they knew he left. So knowing that, in fact, they had a colonel and I believe a general talking to the people that knew him. And they told the colonel and the general that he left. He deserted. Remember the old days, a deserter, what happened? Bang. 20 years ago, it was bang, but slowly. 10 years ago, it was long prison. Today, they're probably talking about nothing. That's where we've come. But I call him the 5-for-1. So we get Bergdahl, right? A traitor. They get 5 of the most vicious killers that they have. that they've been after for 9 years to get them out. And they bring them and they're back on the battlefield trying to kill everybody, including us. This stuff is going to stop, folks. And Gitmo